Okay, so that's the agenda, which we've talked about. The grant it's been open for 2 weeks as of tomorrow. We did have a few glitches that we identified and fixed, but it did I'd say it set us back about a week. But we were in contact with the people that were applying, and they were very patient and kind. We have 5 applications that are in progress. So one of the questions is, and we don't have to decide here yet, but oops, sorry, is should we extend the deadline beyond April 19th? Because we're still probably going to be pushing into May to be doing the review, unless you all want to start reviewing on the 23rd. And that would put us to make recommendations to commissioners by late May, early June. So these are the things that I have done. I've sent out, you all got, I hope you got the newsletter, what we call it's a media news release, but it's also an email that went out to 13,000 plus email or text addresses. I did send that out to the media. They haven't done an article. So once we decide on the date issue, I will follow up with them. People were checking the website. That's how some people got in touch with me. So that's been out there. I have been holding back on the social media, and that I know we'll be able to give it a lot more exposure. But I just need to see, again, if we're going to change that deadline. And then we have what we call a Sunday ad. The commissioners run an ad every Sunday. Here's Lynette coming in. And then we put that out. I'm going to put that out this Sunday, which happens to be Easter, but that's just something we have to do for recording. So then I was going to ask, other outreach ideas. Kate sent me the online grant portal for Colorado. It does have an expense and a price to it. I don't think I'm going to do it this year, but I'll consider it next year. Anything that you're all doing to sort of forward it out would be great. And if others have other outreach ideas, I'm all ears.
Barb, do we have an idea
that portal, jump in.
That portal you were just talking about that has an expense? Do we
Yeah.
have any idea what kind of traffic it gets?
I do not. It's Harold, let me skip to it. Let me stop sharing and I'll kind of give you guys a preview of it. Hi, Lynette. We're having a mini meeting. A few of you weren't able to get in, so we're just kind of using you all as the gold star committee to make decisions. Officially, you can't make decisions tonight, but you can give input. Let me go back and let me find that Colorado grants. It's a national one that okay, let me share my screen again. We can walk through this. So it takes you to this page, and I poked around in it. It says Colorado Grant Watch, but as you get into it a little bit, it's definitely for all the states. So you can, the thing that was kind of the only category that would fit for us is this EMS and Homeland Security. Not exactly, I don't know that people would think of going here for the emergency grants, but maybe they would. And then these are the listings you get. So you have to sign up both to put an application up there for people to find, and you have to pay, like I guess you could do local grants. They have all kinds of ways to sort. Where did I get in before? What was that? Grant Talk, Grant News, grants by type. I think it was Get Started. So ultimately, if we really wanted to use this, we could use this $199 maybe annually. It seems to be the most cost effective. I don't know. And if I can get other grants in Boulder County to use it, it would be great. I'm trying to find the place where I go to search, filter. Oh, search filters. Okay. So like Colorado type of funding, local, I just don't know how many of our fire districts or, you know, these search and rescue, I just don't know how many people, would go to this because they have to pay too.
Mm,
I don't think a ton would be going to this.
Yeah, that's my impression too.
makes
So,
sense.
but if there was something like that that was a little more homegrown, you know, that was tailored, that if you know of anything, you know, word of mouth, kind of more of a place that, because you know, Gold Hill had to have found out about other grant programs, Sunshine, you know, everybody seems to figure out in some way where to go to apply for grants. So if there's any kind of central posting, I'm really interested in hearing about that. Let me go back to the and then it's really just a matter of talking about, so the meeting on the 23rd. There you all are. Ben, I don't think you can, nope, you're not in the picture, Ben. So we'll have to retake this picture. We're gonna have the spring round. The sheriff's office, Randy Wilbur is going to attend, and he's going to kind of run through how the sheriff's office and I are making sure that grants that we're both managing, that we're cross-referencing and trying to make sure we're not, you know, either funding the same thing twice or, you know, comparing notes as to what the sheriff's office, because the sheriff's office has its own funding for some specific search and rescue groups, and some of those I know are also going to apply for our round. So Randy will help us kind of sort through that. And then we'll really do an exercise to dig in on the scoring. And this platform will allow each of you to get your own account so that you can go in and look at each application and score each question. Go ahead, Rick.
Is your concern about extending the application date that it won't give us enough time to review them before our in-person meeting?
I'm torn. I'm kind of in favor of giving another week because I haven't had a chance to really publicize it. Now that we've fixed the glitches. So I was hoping this, if we extend it a week, we'll give everybody a month from Thursday to get an application in. You won't then have the applications on that April 23rd date. But we would have just gotten them and you would have had a sort of a cursory chance to look at them. I don't know how much we would use the 23rd meeting to really, especially if we have a few people that can't make it. I don't know how much scoring we would do in that meeting. I think we need to figure out, we can use some examples. I mean, I plan to bring, if not the actual application from some of the agencies, I can bring examples and say, you know, here's, I know what the kinds of things we're going to get. And we can have some discussion around how we want to group and score. So I think it'll still be useful. I think we can use some examples without actually using the submitted applications, if that makes sense. I think that was it. And then I'll circulate a doodle poll for the May meetings. So those are the big things. Oops, Doug is trying to get in. Let me see if I can get him in here. Those are the things that I was hoping to kind of talk about tonight, get some input on. Any thoughts? Hey, Doug.
I have a quick question. I remember talk about having somebody, I think somebody from County Parks was going to come in.
Right.
Are we still doing that? And then I have a quick question, another part of the question would somebody I'm just going to use an example from parks. So they have the park host program, or they have a volunteer program. People walk around on the trails. Part of what they do is they have a fanny pack that has first aid supplies. They do, first aid training. Even though it's a county government, would that volunteer program be allowed to apply?
I'm trying to remember what, I know I asked this. So there's another, that's a good question. There is another part of the 1B funding that is earmarked for open space and for what the rangers are going to propose. They don't need to come through the grant program to figure out, I forget how much it is. I think it's, if I say a number, I'm gonna be wrong, but it might be around $50,000. Where they're supposed to tell us, and they didn't do so last year because they were just so busy, but this year we really want them to tell us these are the things that you want to spend that money on. Now, I know that one of the grants coming in is going to be specific about kind of parking and safety around a trailhead near our open space. And so things like that are going to be a little weird because a volunteer group can't work in our right of way, but that could be one of those bullet point 3 ideas that it's a good idea and the county might fund it on the other side. So I think we're just going to get a lot of, I would encourage. So is it managed? Is the Parks program, Park Host program managed by Open Space?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you remember did you know any names of who does that?
Maybe Sarah Andrews, who's one of the rangers, and I mean Bevan Carruthers obviously is
Yeah,
a ranger.
I was going to invite, thank you for the reminder. I'm definitely going to invite Bevan, or if he can't make it, his designee. Because I do want them to come and talk about kind of what they know is in the pipeline of requests that they might have.
And then obviously like Eldora, I mean, because that's a separate entity. If they had some idea, they could apply for a grant as well.
You bet. Yeah. Yes. I just want to acknowledge Doug said he is having some video issues, so he's listening in and he can hear us. And Doug, we got started kind of late. I'm sorry we had the technical glitches, but we now do actually have a quorum. And so one of the things that we were asking you is questions like that. If you had any questions about who can apply, I'd say send them to me. One of the members of this committee reached out to me and said that she had been approached by a group that wanted some insight as to how to put together their application. And she said, what should I do? I said, well, just send them to me because I can share the same thing with anybody who reaches out. And therefore it doesn't put any of you in a position, because then she thought, well, I'll recuse myself. But the problem is what the current county attorney has said is you can't just recuse yourself from one application. You have to recuse yourself from the entire round. So we want to avoid any of you getting into a position where you feel like you're too close to an application. You can, it doesn't matter that you know the group, or I mean that's helpful to have some knowledge on the committee of groups and what they're applying for. There's no problem with that. We just would rather have me field any questions. So I guess again we go to the question, and Doug, we're talking about there were a couple glitches with the platform in the very beginning. 2 of the groups went in the first day to try to apply, and I'm glad they did because we were able to work out like a point that gave an error message and it shouldn't. So we fixed that, but that meant I didn't do any kind of social media blast or any kind of advertising beyond the e-news blast that you all got. So I plan to do that this week. I just want to know if we should stick to the April 19th deadline or if we should extend it out a week. I'm actually surprised by how many people have already contacted me and said that they're going to apply. Usually I don't, the last day is when they start coming in, but people have been anticipating this. It kind of depends on how much you all want to do work on that April 23rd meeting in person. Do we want the deadline to have already closed, so we know the pool of applicants we have, or do we want to just deal in with some examples and theory about what we're going to be looking at in May? Nobody seems to have a strong opinion.
I mean, we're getting together in a group. I don't think we'll be able to get through all of the applications, is my guess, right? Even if we were to close it, we probably couldn't get through all of them. But if it seemed okay to use one, I don't know if we'd have to like redact any info, but just to kind of, like you said, talk through like, okay, what's there? How is this going to go? I mean, we can't change the application at that point, but
True. It would be good for the demo. If we do stick with the deadline, it's certainly more consistent. I mean, there's a lot of places where I've mentioned that deadline that I'd have to go back in and redo documents, upload them again. I mean, I'm willing to do all of that, but there's always the chance that I miss one or something, you know, the deadline's still out there. So it'd be cleaner if we stick to the deadline we have. And that way, then I can do a real demonstration of the platform using actual applications, because nobody's going to come in after that point. But I agree with you, Maria. I don't think I think it'd be too overwhelming to try to tackle them all on that night. But I do think it would be good to use the examples. Go ahead, Ben.
Yeah, I think that these groups will have another 3-4 weeks. I think that if there was a minor glitch for the really proactive ones that are on top of their game at the very beginning of it, they'll be able to handle it within the next 3-4 weeks.
Okay. Anyone else kind of stick with the deadline? Okay. Then that means that then starting tomorrow, I can really jump on the outreach. And again, I mean, this first round, we're getting bugs out of all kinds. And so I think just any sort of people are going to know that this grant program exists. I am going to do some targeted outreach, and then, you know, over the years, people become more familiar with the fact that every year we're going to have this cycle and then the fall fire districts one. Okay. Then anything, if you think of, I think I'll send out an email after this meeting, and because you are a quorum, you can actually make that decision. And then everything else is really just trying to say, hey, if you can think of a platform or a group that you want me to, you know, follow up with, just email me at any time and I'll do that. Let me see if there was anything else. And then Lynette, I will invite open space staff for that meeting. Yay. Okay. Those are the big things. And then I'll be able to do a demonstration of the scoring so that we can actually see how that's going to work, and rather than just give you a big spreadsheet to have to wrangle. I think it'll be a nicer experience.
Thanks, Barb.
Great. All right. Well, thank you all.